with me, I've got Alex from the Cannons and Tomahawks Podcast. So, Alex, how are we doing tonight, bud?
Doing good, Ryan. I'm doing really well, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I figured we'd talk some NHL, do some NHL and COVID, myriad topics with NHL because it's season's in full swing right now. With the exception of my New Jersey Devils, until tonight, because it's been 16 long days that I haven't seen my Devils play, but tonight they resumed play because of what happened with the COVID situation. We've had a few teams kind of go through it. So, Alex, what's your feeling on the whole how the NHL is dealing with COVID?
I think there's some situations where it could be better and some situations where it's okay. I think a lot of it is they're doing what they can with the situation that they have in front of them. They can't do a bubble again for the entire season because then guys would be away from their family for another 3, 4, 5 months at a time.
Yep.
And they can't. I think they're doing the best with what they were given. It's just not very good at the moment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling about it is that the guys, the NHLPA, and the owners, they knew the risk going in. They knew the risk that they'd probably. I mean, it's kind of like the baseball situation. Because I remember last year. I don't know if you paid attention to Major League Baseball or not, Alex, but we had that situation last year during the sprint to the World Series where a couple of teams early in the season had a breakout of COVID and they had to cancel or they had to postpone a few games and make up those games later in the season, like Florida and St. Louis especially. So my feeling is kind of like that. It's like, all right, you knew the risk going in. Get through the situation. You'll get through it. You make up your games, and the rest of it's gravy.
Yeah. I remember, especially when the Marlins got hit, and it was something ridiculous. And then that's when it brings in that these teams are going and hitting the weekends and having a doubleheader on Saturday, and then a noon game on Sunday, and then another doubleheader Monday, or something like that. And it was weird. Granted, everyone was at home. Like I was at home working, so you can watch more games, but it's weird seeing so many games in such a tight space of time. Everything's cramped and condensed into such a short amount of time. And then with everything else going on, so now you got to have a lot of health concerns and things like that. I feel like the hockey world is like that too, where you have teams, for example, like the Devils and the Wild, who get kicked out of essentially playing for such an extended amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have that many games you have to make up. So the Devils were out, 16 days?
16 days, yeah.
So that's 7, 8, maybe 9 games. And all that has to be made up somehow. So now you have to figure out the rest of their schedule if you can make it up, which, especially at the end of the season, they've said they have kind of a hard stop because of they have to get through the Stanley Cup playoffs because of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're probably going to have to go based off of points percentage. It's not going to be necessarily standings. So, because there's some teams that probably won't hit that 56 games.
Well, I'm looking at the redone New Jersey Devils schedule right now, and basically what it is, they have 3 games this week. Then the rest of the season, they play 4 games every single week.
Oh.
So it's 4 games next week against Washington, Buffalo, at Buffalo, then home against Washington, 2 home games against Washington. Then March, 3 more, 4 games per week. They have a back-to-back in the last week of the month. They play at the Capitals on the 25th and 26th of March. And then there's 1 week they play only 3 games, so they play towards the end of March and April. But every single week from then on out, it's 4 games, 3 games. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare for the Devils to make up, to be honest with you.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is thinking the amount of physical toll that's going to take, like on Mackenzie Blackwood and stuff like that. Your goalies are going to have a ridiculous amount of ice time every single week. Luckily, for example, like the Blue Jackets, not that we've been doing great or anything, but we have Jonas Korpisalo and Elvis Merzlikins, and they can share ice time. Well, some teams don't have that luxury, or they're not going that route of going back and forth between multiple guys. It's, hey, we're going to ride one guy until the wheels fall off, and then we're going to go to the other guy. That's just one thing that would concern me is the physical toll it would take on the goalies, let alone all of the players too, playing so much hockey in such a short amount of time. And then what's that going to do to their play? Because, if you're playing 4 times every week, the coaches are not going to be making you practice every single day too. So there's going to be a lot of practices taken away. So I'm not saying their play is going to slip, but I'd be interested to see what kind of toll that's going to end up taking.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why they put the taxi squads in there at the beginning when the NHL and the NHLPA just talked about the season, and they had to figure it. All right, we're gonna have our regular games, but we're gonna have our regular squads. But we're also gonna have, in addition to the AHL squad, we're gonna have a taxi squad of 4 or 5 guys who will stay behind, like the Black Aces in the playoffs, and they'll just be in there practicing for practice purposes. If they need to, if somebody needs a rest day, like Mackenzie Blackwood, he's going to be the regular starter. But you've also got Scott Wedgwood and Michael Dell, who's finally cleared COVID protocols and conditioning in Binghamton. So he'll be in the lineup, and one of those guys will be taxi squad every other game, so to speak. So, but yeah, I mean, the concern right now is juggling. I mean, as Lindy Ruff described it, it's a reset.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reset for them. It's basically saying, okay, we've had our time off. We're going to dive into the season, play the rest of the games out, play the rest of the games. I'm excited for myself. I'm excited to see Jack Hughes back on the ice. He's been playing lights out since the beginning of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing Ty Smith back in the lineup. All those guys younger guys who have been contributing to the team. I'm looking forward to seeing them back on the ice. And I'm super happy.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see some of the guys get back out. I obviously have a soft spot for Ryan Murray. He was with the Blue Jackets the entire time. Mm-hmm. I still love watching him. It's really hard seeing him in a Devils jersey, but it happens. But it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to seeing the guys get back out there. And like you were saying, he talked about it was a reset. Well, it's one of those things that kind of, especially for the Devils, that kind of sucks because they had 9 months off.
Yeah.
And
they had 9 months off.
They play for like a month and then they're back on a reset again.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, for at least for the Devils, it's going to be, and for other teams as well. Buffalo just started play again last night. Minnesota's getting close. I think they're going to start playing again soon, I think. I haven't really paid attention to what they're doing, but I think they're going to start soon. Colorado just got back on the ice. I saw them play Vegas the other night, and for a 1-0 game, that was a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an enjoyable. I didn't catch the entire game, but from what I did watch, it was actually pretty enjoyable.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so going off of our favorite teams, myself being the Devils, and Alex, you cover the Blue Jackets. What's your feeling on who's the best team in the NHL right now? Who are your top 5 teams?
That's a good one. So Boston is up there, which I think they kind of came out of I don't want to say they came out of nowhere this year, but I think a lot of the stipulation with them was they lost Chara and Torrey Krug, and then automatically everyone's assuming, they're not going to be that great. Well, now they don't have to deal with Tampa on a regular basis. They didn't have to deal with Toronto on a regular basis throughout the regular season. Mm-hmm. So I'd say Boston's up there, Tampa's up there. As much as it pains me to say it, Vegas. I'd say Toronto and Montreal are the other two that round out my top 5. But one, I'd say a sneaky team right now has got to be the Panthers. I mean, they're 9-2-2, I believe, right now. And
can confirm. Yep.
I had no idea they would be doing this well this year. And to think they're going off of Chris Driedger more than Bobrovsky, which I find hilarious that they dropped $70 million now on a backup, it seems like. But they're doing really well. And it's frustrating that we have to deal with that now in our conference. But, they're getting up there. And I think another team for me that's surprising me a lot is the Blackhawks, because
Absolutely.
losing so many guys, and it was the same thing last year. Same thing kind of in reference to the Blue Jackets. They thought the Blue Jackets were going to be a basement dweller, and we still somehow were middle of the pack, made it into the playoffs, beat Toronto in the qualifying rounds, and kept going. I could see Chicago being in that boat this year.
Yeah, I mean, they were the Cinderella team. They were one of the Cinderella teams last year to make it out of the qualifier. They were one of 12 seeds to come out of the qualifier, along with Montreal. So even with losing Jonathan Toews, he decided to take the season off to kind of heal, and I don't know what kind of condition he's got, unfortunately, but thoughts and prayers out to him and hopefully it's heals soon. But Chicago's definitely one of those surprise teams, that's for sure. Arizona is another one of those teams. They're third place right now in the West Division. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
With all the stuff going on with the West, especially. I mean, and I did look, and Minnesota is returning tonight.
Oh, are they? Nice.
The Wild resume plays tonight, which is good. So good for them. I know Colorado and Vegas are playing 4 straight games, including this Sunday in the Lake Tahoe series. So that'll be getting old pretty quick. My top 5, I would say Boston is definitely number one for me. If I had power rankings, they're definitely number 1. Number 2 would be Tampa Bay, 3 Vegas, 4 Toronto. Yeah, I think we're pretty much in agreement with our top 5 here. So I have Montreal as a top 5 team. Winnipeg has been really surprising too.
Oh yeah,
I thought they were going to be out of the playoff picture all season, but even with that Line A trade, but they've seemed to pick it up since they traded Line A, and they're sitting in third place right now in the North Division.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they also have Ottawa that have to be. Calgary has been super underwhelming this year.
Yeah, that's surprising too.
The Oilers are typical of the Oilers. I mean, you have McDavid and Draisaitl, and you think that that's going to carry you to a Stanley Cup playoff or a Stanley Cup championship, but that's not the case. And then Vancouver is very surprising this year at how bad they are.
I had a feeling Vancouver was going to slip a little bit. I think they lost too much in the offseason, especially on defense, and it's showing right now. Markstrom going to Calgary as well. Calgary. I had them. So my division prediction for the North was Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, and I had Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Ottawa. I figured Ottawa was going to be a bottom dweller. They're a young team. They're a super young team, mixed in with a little bit of veteran presence, just to kind of get the salary floor in there. But I mean, Toronto, with the exception of their epic collapse last night, they're playing fairly well. Montreal, I thought was going to do better this year, and they haven't disappointed me. Edmonton, I still have questions about their goaltending situation and their defense. Calgary, I think they'll step it up once things got kind of get together. Winnipeg, I think the playoffs will be between. I think the playoffs will come down to the last 2 playoffs will be coming down. And the playoff spot will come down to Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Calgary in that division.
Yeah, and like you said, Edmonton. I think their biggest thing is they have to figure out goaltending. Yeah. They have Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith, but that's not great.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a lot of stuff where there was, I've seen the Twitter rumors, which 99% of the time are fake, but I've also seen the rumors coming from, credible people that the Oilers were looking at trying to get Jonas Korpisalo from the Blue Jackets. And then make a trade. Our offense is still, I want to say it's terrible, but it's better now than it was last year. It's just our defense is non-existent. But, that's the one thing with the Oilers also, that in the offseason, this upcoming offseason is going to be weird because the caliber and the number of free agents is crazy.
Yeah.
Like especially from a goaltending situation, it's insane. Like to start off, you got Tuukka Rask. I'm not saying he's going to leave Boston, but that's also something where it's, hey, you have guys that you can look at. There's other teams that are willing to try and trade to get stuff.
Yeah.
The Blue Jackets have probably one of the highest goaltending depths in the NHL as far as their prospect pool. So why not? You should entertain all offers.
Both Rask and who's their backup goaltender?
Halak.
Yeah. I knew it was an H name. Just couldn't remember for a quick second there. But they're both in their 30s. I know Rask is 32, 33, and Halak is in his upper 37, 38.
Yeah, so Halak is 36 and Tuukka is 34.
Yeah. You got two guys in their 30s. I think, especially with the league trending younger, I don't know what kind of goaltenders they have in their system in terms of goaltending, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. Maybe they make it, or in this season, maybe they make a trade to get a younger goaltender in there and they can sign to a long-term deal. I mean,
yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that plays into that too, especially this year, everything being so weird that, if you're willing to trade for a goalie and depending on what league, especially with being in the North, if you're going to look at trading for a goalie in the States, you got to take into consideration the time he has to sit out.
Yeah.
We had to do that with Patrick Laine and Pierre-Luc Dubois, and then Jack Roslovic. Both Laine and Roslovic had that 48-hour quarantine because I guess Canada's better off than U.S. right now. But it's, they have to take that into consideration. Are you willing to take that chance during the season to wait, 2 to 14 days, depending on how they come over, just to get a good goalie? You could, in 14 days, you could tank pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to shout out to Slapshot Sweetheart, Shannon and Meg. They had Rod Peterson from who is from Saskatchewan. He follows Canadian teams right now. He mentioned that basically if you get traded from an American team to a Canadian team, you're basically sitting in your hotel room for 14 days. So if you're going to make a trade for a goaltender, like if you're Edmonton and you're looking to upgrade your goaltending, you make that trade now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I know there's some stipulations like Laine and Roslovic, it was originally a 7-day. Well, Roslovic was already in Columbus, so I guess he doesn't really count. But with Laine, it was supposed to be a 7-day, but he came privately. So the Blue Jackets sent one of their private jets to go pick him up in Ottawa after he picked up his work visa. And then he came back. So that I guess I haven't looked at the actual protocol verbiage, but since he came over privately, I guess it was a 48-hour quarantine and then 2 negative tests after that. I don't know what it's like going from America to Canada because frankly, I don't follow Canadian teams, so it's not really for me to know. But yeah, if you're going to make a trade, now is the time. It 100% now would be the time. Yeah,
it's got to get done. You got to get it done. All right, Alex, we're going to wrap things up for this segment of No Credentials Required. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. Tell the people on YouTube and also who are listening that where they can find you, where they can find your podcast. Let the people know.
Well, first, Ryan, thanks for having me. I know it was a little short notice, but hey, it was fun. It's always nice coming talking hockey with you. We always have a blast whenever we're on a podcast or the Belly Up Fantasy. You guys can find me on Twitter at @nuddle_CBJ. You can also find me at our podcast at Cannons and Tomahawks Pod. And then also you can check out my co-host as well, Zach Martin at CLE Zach on Twitter as well. He is the Chicago Blackhawks fan, and he does a lot of stuff with the Cleveland Browns too. So yeah, come hit us up. We're always on Twitter, super active. So have some fun.